I just watched The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug last night, and oh my goodness, it was so good. Before I can get into that one, I kind of have to tell you what I thought about the first one. First one I thought was, nah, not my thing. The reason for that is the fact that there were just a lot of scenes that I thought were kind of, like the Frodo cameo at the very beginning. I mean, when you throw in a scene like that in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and I'm looking at that and I'm going, this in no way relates to The Hobbit. It has nothing to do with The Hobbit. Why are we looking at that? It poisons my experience quite a bit. Plus all the ridiculous imagery, Radagast being so over the top, the mountain giant fight, the goblin guy with the disgusting ugh. And the action looked like it was ready for a video game. I mean, we've got dwarves who are able to bounce plates off each other and get everything precisely where they want, and okay, if you really want to do that, fine, but it looks so ridiculous. It only would work in, say, a video game. Like, I feel like it is a video game. Was it an awful movie? No, but it could have been a lot better if it took itself seriously like The Lord of the Rings did. Fast forward now to where we are now with the Desolation of Smaug. Some things persist, for example, the whole video game action thing. Yeah, the dwarves still do that kind of stuff all the time. But the elves do it too, and I'm willing to give the elves a free pass on that, for the simple reason that they are ethereal human beings who should be able to do something like that. Even though they never do in the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy, so I guess they lose their skills. But Bilbo's got his ring now, and he's finally got his courage. He finally has the mindset where he's able to actually get into the adventure and be helpful. And it helps a lot. It's a really good thing because, in all truth, before that he was just the everyman hero. He was going the way of Frodo for the most part in the first movie. And I was like, okay, if you remember my opinions about Frodo, that's kind of a useless character who's there to be the everyman. Not Bilbo. Bilbo actually does stuff, so he's a useful hero. But then we also have the side story about how Gandalf is looking into the necromancer and seeing all these different things about, oh my goodness, could this possibly be Sauron? Which actually works pretty well with the backstory if you actually know the backstory to the Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson, of course, threw in as much new stuff as he possibly could, such as Toriel. If you hadn't heard about her, she's the elf woman who shows up and was never in Lord of the Rings before. And in all truth, it was a good choice. Toriel actually adds that feminine charm that was kind of needed for the series. And also, Evangeline Lilly from Lost, she does a great job as Toriel. And I have to say, that was one of the high points of the entire movie. The fact that Peter Jackson actually added in a character that had a purpose and was more than just a, well, we'll have a cameo appearance. I'm looking at you, Frodo. And so all that was interesting. He added some other stuff when they actually get to Lake Town, which could have been cut down a lot, and I would not have minded overall, but I'm not going to complain too much, except for the fact that it's slightly strange. I mean, they've got this lake town, and the people are all supposed to be starving, so the guys are smuggling in food for them, but they've got dogs, these pugs, which are huge, fat pugs, running around eating scraps. It's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. The person I went to see the movie with who was sitting next to me actually leaned over to me and said, "They're so fat! And this is a starving town. We've been told that this is a starving town." But then they also have these fat pigs. And you look at this and you go, okay, this is a starving town. These animals will be dead and eaten. You're starving. You're going to eat whatever food you can find. For the most part, the special effects are great. Hit the barrel ride down the river, that's pretty good. The action was ridiculous and a video game-ish, but the special effects are pretty good. But one of the greatest things in this movie is Smaug, voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay, I'm about to go all fantasy nerd on you guys, but wow! They could not have picked a better person to voice Smaug. He was the perfect choice. He was great at Smaug. He has the great imposing voice. He's got the intensity. If you've seen him in the other movies he's done, like Star Trek Into Darkness where he played Khan, or if you've seen him as Sherlock in the Sherlock series, you know this guy is all business. He is really good. He's got that great voice for this kind of role. And the special effects for Smaug were amazing! I mean, wow! Okay, way back when, there was a movie that came out called Dragonheart, and they had an amazing dragon done. It was all special effects. They also had practical sets sometimes when he had to be biting down on something. It looked amazing, and it's still great special effects. And they had Sean Connery doing the voice too. So the great news is Peter Jackson took a note from that and gave us an amazing looking dragon with an amazing voice and made it an amazing, amazing character. Overall, I really enjoyed The Hobbit. I'm gonna admit, before I went to see The Hobbit, I looked at Jeremy John's review of it. Yeah, I'm a reviewer who looks at other reviewers' stuff because, you know, Jeremy John's is awesome-tacular. That's a side note. One thing that Jeremy Johns said for the Desolation of Smaug was that the music was forgettable. He didn't come out of the theater ready to go buy the soundtrack. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm going to take that challenge because I have never had a Lord of the Rings or a Hobbit movie have really forgettable music. It was. I'm sitting there listening to it and it's going barely in one ear and not even out the other. It's just so... it was weak. The music was extremely weak. I mean, there's a few parts where you get the Bilbo Shire theme and you go, okay, yeah, that's amazing carryover. Or you get this Desolation of Smaug theme, which is all Smaug, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. There's one part where you hear Sauron's theme from The Lord of the Rings, and it's only for a brief instant. But that's it. There's nothing else that stands out music-wise. And in a Lord of the Rings movie, you know the music is there. The music is a key factor, and it's an important part to how you view the movie. In the other Hobbit movie, they had great music too. I mean, did you hear that one theme? Da na 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 na. Gets stuck in my head every time. I love that song. But no, this one, forgettable music. Props to you, Jeremy. I'll get you yet. But in the meantime, I enjoyed The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. I liked it a lot more than An Unexpected Journey. I thought it was a lot better because it didn't drag as much. The pacing was a lot better. And the action scenes, while they were a little bit long actually, they did break them up a little bit with smaller scenes that were important, but not just throwaway scenes to break up the action. So it did work a lot better. And that's the main review for The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. And while I did enjoy it, if you listen to my next part, which is going to be in another video, you'll hear what I think about more specific parts of the story of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Because this is going to be more of a spoiler talk. But thank you for watching, cheerio, and farewell.